Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Go check out my website at skyazrael.com. Let's get into today's topic. I want to talk about a form of self-sabotage that a lot of us engage in. You've heard the term self-talk many times. I've talked about it. It's that dialogue that we have, the voice that goes on in our head, the many voices. In some cases, it's not just one voice. And there's a type of self-talk that many people engage in where it's commonly referred to as shadow boxing. You know, shadow boxing? Shadow boxing is where you fight nothing. You fight a shadow. You're fighting something that's not there, an imaginary opponent. Sure, it's fine exercise. One could argue physically it's fine practice, but we do this mentally. It's often that we will fight things that are not there. You may be fighting people that have long left you, fighting an ex, still going over those arguments. The relationship is long over, and you're still fighting. You're still bitter. You're still running those conversations in your head. Maybe you're playing other imaginary ones, fantasy ones. I should have said this, playing those out. You may be fighting your dead father or your dead mother. They treated you particularly bad. You'll hate them until the day you die. There's all kinds of fights that we take on. Sometimes we fight. I notice this with myself, that I'll have arguments in my head that are recreations of arguments that I had in the past. But then I'll also, as this weird form of preparation, formulate arguments, many different arguments, that I might potentially have in the future. It's terrible to go through this. Stop fighting in your head. Stop fighting with imaginary people. Stop shadow boxing. I don't know why we do this. I think some of it is anxiety. Some of it is our own mind trying to justify emotional reactions. It's hard for people to accept flaws, especially bad behavior. It's much easier to justify our bad behavior or our flaws. Some people fight these wars in their heads their whole lives. And they become bitter people. It can affect your health, your physical health, your mental health, obviously. You may know somebody who is just a curmudgeon, just grumpy all the time. Somebody at the office whose just attitude ruins the fucking whole office. Could be the manager even. Sometimes bosses, since they have such influence, if they have a real bad attitude, if it's a real negative motherfucker, he can destroy a business. One person. You could be married to somebody who's just going through this constantly. They're constantly fighting with their dead father. They're constantly going through arguments with their ex, and you're like, that relationship is long over. But they still want to go over those arguments and be right. And feel that power of what it feels like to scold someone, shame someone. You got to what is the purpose of the fights? Why do we do that? So I've been trying to stay on top of my self-talk in all ways, meaning that regardless of if it's conflict going on inside my head or anything, I try to release all that self-talk, release it all, I even tell myself as a mantra, which you can tell yourself too, if mantras work for you, I release all thoughts to the universe with loving kindness as they arise. And you can add on to that mantra a picture, sometimes using your imagination to reinforce what you're saying can be like magic. So as I'm saying that mantra, I will imagine my thoughts almost like little bubbles, like when you're blowing bubbles, just floating out of the top of my head. Imagine if it was like a cartoon. And then as those thoughts, those bubbles float up into the air, as bubbles do, they burst, just kind of spontaneously burst. I tell myself that a couple times, and it can help me get into a place of self-mastery where I can slip into an experience of observing myself go through life rather than being lost in the experience. When we're lost in the experience, you're having an emotional outburst. You're lost in the emotion, whether it's good or bad, or you've seen people that are overly emotional and you look at their eyes, they're crazy. I try to avoid those types of scenarios because I realize that I can't navigate properly and make terrible decisions when I'm overly emotional, when I'm lost in my emotion like that. So when I'm in the realm of the experiencer, I realize that that's a weak realm to be in, and I want to transition at those points into the realm of the observer. The realm of the observer is a higher realm to be in, and that's when you can see a larger picture. So this is really just by changing outlook from a narrow focus to an expansive focus. And it's good to master your focus, just like on a lens, on a camera. There's a time and a place for everything. You don't want a fix. This is why they came up with adjustable lenses, because if you have to have a fixed lens, you need to change that shit out rapidly in order to take the photo. It's good to be able to get in a practice of mastering your focus. We do this so we don't get lost in the emotional events that life offers us. There's so much trauma, there's so much going on, happy, sad. It's easy to feel like a pinball in a pinball machine. Everything that you do all day long, it gets categorized in your brain, and without some sort of release, your mind can be, at the end of the day, can just be going crazy. If you don't have any way to release that at the end of the day, your dreams may not help. You may wake up stressed. So it's an overall practice, and I have been really focusing heavily on specifically the conflict that I create in my brain, the fabricated conflict, the unnecessary conflict. And it's all self-talk. It's self-induced. I come up with this stuff inside my head while I'm driving, while I'm at the grocery store, while I'm working, while I'm doing everything. I can play out whole fantasies and scenarios of conflicts, of arguments, of debates, whether they're going to happen or have happened. And I have learned to catch myself thinking, to catch myself in the middle of it, and to stop myself. Now, sometimes with self-talk, when you want to stop yourself from thinking too much, all you need to do is to notice it. Wow, I'm really overthinking this. And just noticing that your mind is racing with all kinds of stuff, just noticing that's what's going on, can put you in the driver's seat all of a sudden. But sometimes you can be so caught, so trapped in emotion, that even noticing that you're emotional doesn't stop it. So what I do for me is I put up a wall. I stop that emotion because I need to get out of a mindset of conflict. I need to stop shadow boxing. Imagine if you're literally just shadow boxing and you can't stop. Someone would have to come up and grab you physically to stop you. I need to do that with my mind. Sometimes I need to play my own drill sergeant. And I'll tell myself, I was in the car the other day going over an argument that I had years ago with a guy. I don't even know why I was thinking about it. Something triggered me, and I started thinking about that shit again. I started thinking about the whole scenario, and next thing you know, I'm playing his dialogue and my dialogue in my head all over again. This argument is being hashed out all over again. I'm taking left turns, right turns, not even paying attention. I'm lost fucking 10 years ago in an argument now. I noticed I was doing it. I just literally snapped myself out of it. Stop it. Stop it right now. And you may have a tendency to think more like a little kid who wants to, be sneaky around his parents, and you have to say, no, no more talking. Shut up right now. And even after that feels harsh, I say that to myself. Shut the fuck up right fucking now. Not another fucking word. I'll say this in my head. And sometimes I have to regulate. I have to be the boss of me and really put the hammer down, because there's a part of me that will just continue that conflict, and that makes me weaker and weaker and weaker. More frazzled, more overwhelmed, more anxious. Anxiety feeds on anxiety. It's all just aspects of self-mastery. Stop shadow boxing through your whole life. Stop fighting fights. Stop fighting these battles. Fighting people that aren't even there. Some get it, some don't. If you don't, I wish I was one of you. Thanks for watching.